Greetings, everyone. Apologies for the delay. Computer problems. Running completely fine until I start to try to do a Hangout. And anyway, we're going to go over a whole bunch of different things. Greetings to everybody in the chat. By the way, if you're a good guy in the chat and you don't have a wrench, at the end of my Hangouts, I usually go over, look at all the comments in the chat, and I give people wrenches. You don't have to be a flat earther as long as you're just not a rude person. Again, for any Globling who wants to make a comment, to really make a comment, do so through Super Chat. Let's sort out the wheat from the chaff. Let's get rid of the Globe propaganda. So there you go. So greetings to everybody in the chat. And Anita Holman, yes, you're right. The reason I was late was that I was doing my hair. Not really. Okay. Like I said, going to go over a bunch of stuff. Oh, look at that. I just saw on the screen. I'm always like that about my own work. Right, screen share. We're going to look at Robertson Jennis first. Now, in case you guys didn't know, I was on I think I've been on 2 debates on the Non Sequitur show. The first with Robertson Jennis. 1 second. This guy, I really thought of changing this and putting a certification of 18 for this Hangout because I wanted to swear. I wanted to be free and swear. And then I remembered, sure, swearing, you can vent. It doesn't actually help for a very clear discourse. If you have to swear to critique something, then maybe you should just not critique those things and go and read books and expand your vocabulary. So I will not be swearing. But this guy is not a good person. This is Robertson Jennis you see on the screen. He's not a good person. He's a bad person. He's a dishonest man. He goes by the name Dr. Robertson Jennis. He doesn't actually have a PhD. So that's not a doctor. If you have a PhD, then yeah, you're a doctor, fine. You don't, sure, you could call yourself like Dr. Zeus or Dr. Zach. I don't know why he changed it. I really wish he hadn't. But yeah, as a thing, as a title for yourself, but not with your real name, like Dr. Antonio Subirats or Dr. Robertson Jennis. That's just ridiculous. Anyway, we're going to listen to not all of this, okay? This is a silly thing. It's a flat earth problem. Listen it very carefully from Audio Pico, okay? It's not a very serious problem, and we'll address it right now on Quitted. In fact, I addressed it in the comments there. But we're going to listen to this guy just so that we can really establish some of the problems with the levels of ignorance that we have around us, okay? That's why I've called this level 10 ignorance. This, not just this guy, just the ignorance altogether, the ignorance on the globe side and the ridiculous, absurd ignorance on the flat earth side. And I say ridiculous because having understood some of the problems with the globe, some of the misnomers about understanding the globe, reasons for understanding the globe, which turn out to be just beliefs, and then going and doing the same in the flat earth is stupid. I nearly kind of swore. It is stupid. You should know better. So first, let's listen to this guy. And I'm going to interject almost continuously.
Nobody can be trusted.
False. He just said, nobody can be trusted. Like, no, that's not true. I can trust my family. I can trust a whole bunch of people. I can trust my postman. I can almost everybody can be trusted apart from a few people. So it's almost literally the opposite of what he's saying. Nobody can be trusted. Like, no, no, no. Just about everybody can be trusted, apart from some people. Then he goes through a list of people that you can't trust, but not real people, just labels.
Politician, no government official. We can hardly trust our religious leaders.
Now, here's just level 10 hypocrisy. This man is a Catholic apologist, like literally. His job is to explain about Catholicism. He works for the Pope. This guy, Robertson Jennings, literally works for the Vatican Church, for the Roman Catholic Church. And he's just said, no religious leader can be trusted. That's absolutely false. Well, never mind. I'm just going to replay it. Just the levels of hypocrisy with this guy, I swear. I mean, just to remind you all, when I was in in case you didn't see it, or you might want to go and see it, I'm on a debate with this guy. This guy is at home. He's done his grandstanding. And when I'm starting to pull the rug from under him, suddenly, oh, he's going to have to go soon because he's running out of charge. His whatever it is, iPad, computer, whatever, it's running out of charge. Even though he was at home. You don't run out of charge on your device when you're at home, because that's where your charging up devices, equipment is, at home. This guy's just a deceitful, nasty person.
We can hardly trust our religious leaders.
Oh, really?
Financially, you can't trust the banks.
Every single time I've gone to my bank to take money out, they've given me my money. Oh, I bet every single time that any of you guys have gone to your bank to take out your money, they've given you your money. It looks like they could be trusted with your money.
And all the things. I mean, it's just laughable, all the things that these banks have been through, and the politicians, and, Twittergate and Pizzagate and this gate and that gate. And by the time you add all these things up, this society it's almost insane. And, I've seen this topic separate families. I've seen it separate friends. I've seen it separate husband and wife, believe it or not. Because once somebody gets that bug in their head that we've been lied to about the earth.
He started off saying, from his standpoint, you can't trust anything. And now he's saying, but there are some people who say you can't trust the stuff about the earth being a globe. And, well, they should, no, they should be, there should be some kind of an exception for globe belief. This guy's, the levels of lunacy with this guy, and I mean lunacy like not logical thinking, not consistent thought, it's bordering on dangerous.
It affects every part of their being. And I understand that. I really do. I understand that. And it becomes almost cultish. And from the expertise that God has given me, from the gifts he's given me.
God has given him expertise. Okay.
About the languages and all that. That's what I want to offer to you. Okay? I've been there and done that, is what I'm saying to you. And trust me on this one. All right?
There. You know that you can trust someone if they say, trust me on this one. Right? Because that's how the world is. It's like, who? Okay, let's carry on.
We invented, not invented, but we made the movie The Principle, Rick and I, and it talks about the earth being in the center of the universe. That was a shock enough to the world that the earth is.
It wasn't really. Like, it looks like geocentrism is tiny little nothingness in what's actually going on right now. What's actually going on right now is lots of people saying, dude, I think this place isn't turning, and I think this place, I think it might be altogether generally flat, not a sphere. Like, that's what's really going on in the world. Not people saying, I think we're a ball, but we're not turning. No, that's only like a tiny minuscule handful of people headed by this guy. So guess what he's going to do? He's going to say that's got a lot more merit.
Center of the universe. It's going to take years for them to get over that one, or to even contemplate it. I don't expect it to happen in my generation, and maybe in the next generation. But usually, it's the the kids, the teenagers, who are
yes, and it's the teenagers who are saying, "Dude, the Earth is flat,"
minds, and they can absorb this stuff, and they're ready for a change. Okay, so it may happen in the next generation, but that
he's wrong. It's happening in this generation, and it's not about geocentrism. It's about general flatness. That's what it's about.
Hard enough for them to take, and then we pile on that the Earth is flat. Okay, that's flat. That's not going to get us anywhere. All right.
What it is doing.
We need to regroup. We need to reconsider. And the Bible says the Earth doesn't move. Okay, the fathers have told us this.
The who? The fathers have told us this. Like the priests have said this. Were these the paedophile priests or the non-paedophile priests? Can you please distinguish which?
Scripture has told us this. The magisterium has confirmed this, and even science itself says it, even though they don't like to admit it. All right, but more or less
No, they don't. Science says not turning Earth. It doesn't say but ball.
Shown by the evidence that they have admitted it in one way or the other, and so we have those four sources. Yes, the Earth.
I wouldn't count those as sources. Religious guys who like to dress in strange clothes and give themselves other different names to their real names, and who like laws that protect them from fiddling with children. That's a good source.
The movement that's in the center, because that's what the authorities tell us. But no father.
Now, enough. I will condense his supposed problem. Okay, is here. Okay. Now I think this is from Ojipiku. Shall we ever see anyone attempt to respond to this argument? The distance between the equator and the North Pole cannot be the same for a globe and a flat Earth. That's right. It isn't. Finished. That's it. Finished. There you go. Yeah, so attempt to respond to this argument. Here's my response. Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. So it's finished. But let's continue. Just let's humor it. Just think of half a ball. To draw the distance between the top and the bottom of the half ball, you would have to draw along the curve of the ball. That's right. Now let's think about flatness. So to draw from the center of the flatness to the edge of that flatness, you don't need to go around any curvature, right? Yes. So different distance, right? Yes, right. So what's your point? Now, if you flatten the half ball, you will get the same distance between the center of the circle and the outside edge. However, the size of the bottom half ball has to expand out to a larger circle. No. If it's a ball and you flatten it, you have to do this. Now, if it's flat and you make it into a ball, how do you make it into a ball? Well, you contract the oceans and Antarctica. That's what you do. What do you end up with? Well, a ball. But how can you tell if it's a ball or if it's actually flat in reality and have the oceans contracted to like way smaller than they actually are? Well, with people circumnavigating Antarctica, that's how. If it was a very minuscule distance, like the globe says, then they do it rather quickly. Instead, they don't do it rather quickly. They do it at about 7 miles an hour, regardless of the fact that the winds are average 35 miles an hour. That's a problem. It's almost like it's flat and being contracted to a ball, to display it as a ball, isn't it? However, the size of the bottom of the half ball has to expand out to a larger circle. So either your distance around the equator is wrong, or your distance between the equator and the North Pole is wrong, or your flat Earth model is wrong. Or where you say, if you flatten the half ball, and we say, Well, we don't flatten the half ball. Why would we flatten an abstract concept where the flatness of the earth has been warped to fit around a ball, and then we want to flatten that ball? Well, if we flatten that ball and incorporate all the land that was removed, all the region, all the surface that was removed, all the oceans and the land underneath the oceans, if we include all of that was removed to make the ball, then what do we have? Well, the map you saw behind me, that's what. So there you go. Solved. And again, this guy is a complete cretin. Like, absolutely, just not a nice person. Okay, let's stop sharing that. Where else was I going to go? Somewhere else, I don't know where. Let me make sure everything's going out properly. Yes, it is. Greetings, everybody in the chat again. Almost up to 2,000 subscribers. It's nice to see my channel growing. After it being killed from, it was going up to like 20,000, 18 and a couple of hundreds about there, and then down to 17 and a half, and it stayed 17 and a half, 17,800, and then killed. We'll get there eventually. It's not like that important, you know? Especially not when you see channels that have a large number of subscribers and very few views. That's a problem. There's something not really, something wrong there, Sam and Dan. And lots of flat earthers. So now, sorry, I'm just going to have to refresh this because I'm not really seeing what's streaming out. 1 second. Again, I just saw somebody highlighted my name. If you're a Globling and you have a question, you have to make it through Super Chat or a comment that you'd like to read. So all the people with the wrenches who know how to use them, if you see this happening, just time the person out, okay? Remind them that that's, if they're going to address anything, that's how they're going to do it. If you're a flat earther, I'll go through the end and I will read your comments out. So, yeah, but if you're a Globling, I'm sorry, but this is not a platform for you, okay? Thank you. You can go and make all your comments at the NASA streams if you like. Right, now, some of the things I wanted to cover. So, final level, ignorance. In video gaming, you have levels. You have the final level. That's like the most advanced level. When you're at the most advanced level of ignorance in the flat earth, you're saying, we don't need a model. That's right. If you're a flat earther and you're saying we don't need a model, you're at the final level of the game of ignorance. That's right. At the height of ignorance. Why do I say this? It's like this. The globe has this superimposed globe, this idea, and within that globe idea, which is a parasite on the back of real physics and real science, so we have real physics and real science that establishes things like how much fuel you might need to sail from, say, New Zealand to Hawaii, how much distance you're going to travel to deliver goods that happen in the real world, okay? So in the real world, we have real science that really establishes things. If your game, flat earth game, is to say the globe is all false and everything on it and about it is false, and you don't propose an alternative to the people who know that actually science has brought us lots and lots of things, and I can't distinguish between the part of science that's illegitimate and defines a globe and the part of science that's legitimate and defines everything that we have. And you're saying the globe is false, but I can't divorce the two. So, okay, what's your proposal then? And your answer is, I haven't got one. Then just stop talking. Just stop it. So, define your purpose. I've written myself some notes. Define your purpose. What is it that you're working for? So all the people with Flat Earth channels who are making Flat Earth comments, what is it you're working for? What do you want to achieve through your work? What is it? What's your ultimate goal? What is it you're doing this for? Why? In other words, what is it that you're doing and why are you doing it? If the whole thing is, well, I just want to start a conversation, a dialogue, it's like, the dialogue started some years ago. You're not starting any dialogue. You want to continue the dialogue. It's like, why don't you join a religious order and start a dialogue with a different religious order? Why don't you do and say, how your religious order is better than theirs? Because that's all dialogue does. Just, I think my points are better than your points. I think my points are better than yours. Well, I have proof that my points are better than yours. Well, I have proof that my points are better than yours. It's just silliness, okay? My purpose for this is to educate people on how to troubleshoot the flat earthness. The globe is gone. Isn't there to carry on just poking at it. You're prodding a corpse. Get past that. Get on to defining for the intelligent people out there who know that science actually does work in every field, apart from having misunderstandings, but it still works, okay? So, or misinterpretations of the facts, let's put it that way. Where those guys understand that the real world is made by people and this technological advances, social advances, nutritional, all of those things, medicine, technology, engineering, by real people with real solutions to real things. If you are saying your background model is false and you don't have a better model to give them, like for instance, this is what's actually happening. Like this is what's actually happening. And if you can show that what's actually happening is true and say, look, your model says this. If you check, you see it's not really going on. This model says this. And if you check, you see that this is actually going on. Check. And then they check and they go, oh my, it's true. It is going on. And then they can develop advances based on a more profound understanding of this place, this world. I'll give you an idea. I'll give you a clue to what I mean by more profound understanding. Right now in the world of physics, time is considered an abstract concept. That's right, and flat earthers say it too. It's like, why don't you listen to all of those times that you mentioned people just repeating things, and then look to see whether you're just repeating things. Time is not an abstract concept. That's right. That's right. And I'm going to prove it. I mean, the proof is so... Sometimes in physics, this happens. You have somebody propose an idea. You have somebody come along, test that idea, and find something wrong with it, and then they develop something that's better. That's basically what happens in physics, in science, altogether, all of the time. Okay, that's what all the PhD students are trying to get to. When you propose something that affects all of the sciences, what happens is all of the sciences look at what you're proposing, and if it's true, they accommodate it. And one good reason to propose something that's true and that can be accommodated is if it brings on advancements in technology, in medicine, and in all of the other fields. And that's what my discovery does. That's right. This guy just sat here in Stockport with a poster of his own map. Time is not an abstract concept, and I can prove it. I'm not going to tell you now because I'm going to write a paper. That's right. I am educated, you know. I can write. I'm going to write a paper, And then I'm going to put that paper through for review. That's right. Now, one of the cool things about this whole flat Earth discovery is that there happens to be a university that has a physics department and a mathematics department whose PhD students have publicly said, flat earthers, if we can help you with anything, we will. That's right, in the real world. In the real world, a real university, like a legit university, not one of these that you can buy a degree from, you know, like, can you say that I'm Dr. Robertson Jennings? That kind of, no, a real legit university. So that's what I'm going to do. But I will pass it through to like the New Scientific American, and all of those. That's right. It's so simple, guys. Anyway, right. So if you're in the flat Earth and you're saying no model, what is it you're doing? Because it sounds like this is what you're doing. You're saying to people, hey, your globe belief is a belief. It's wrong. You shouldn't believe it. And if they say, why? You can say, because it's all kinds of wrong in all kinds of way. And if they say, well, what's right then? So I don't know. That's what you're doing. That's what it sounds like. I don't know. Like, then you're in no position to say that that's wrong, really. Especially if you say things like, water always seeks its own level. Like, what about the tides? You know, the tides? What about the tides? Like, at what point is water seeking its level? Is it in the up point or is it on the down point? At which point is water seeking its own level? And could the tides be caused by, say, something described in the Book of the Sun associated with light that has an interaction with not so much the water, but the salt in the water? That's right. You see, some flat earthers' level of ignorance is so low that they don't understand when they're just repeating stuff like the Book of Enoch says. They don't understand when they're just repeating. And because they don't understand and they've spent so much time looking at things to repeat, they don't look at things themselves off their own bat, from their own questioning. Like, for instance, how do the tides happen? What are the oceans? Is it the same level of salinity everywhere in the oceans? Like, are all of the oceans of the world the same level of saltiness? Let's take the Atlantic. Is the Atlantic the same level of salt in the south as in the north, in the east as in the west, in the coastlines versus the most distant points? Or is it not? Do merchant ships have to test the salinity of the water before they set off? Say a ship that's just been refitted. Okay, so it gets refitted in a port where they have all the engineers to do all of that work. This is a port for refitting. It's not a port for loading, but it's then going to go somewhere once it's finished, then going to go somewhere and be loaded. But it can't just go there like thoughtlessly. It's a ship that's designed to have a certain amount of the hull underwater. Otherwise, it rides too high on the sea. So they have to place ballast. So they have to see how much ballast they have to place in the ship. How do they test how much? Well, they see how much the ship is rising, the lines on the ship, they see how high it is sitting in the water, and they check the salinity of the water to see how much ballast they have to put to drop the boat so that it can go to the port and get loaded, take that ballast off and take cargo. Questions like that. So if you don't ask yourself, like, how does salt in the water work? In the oceans, how does salt work? Is it all just ubiquitously spread like you imagine? Or is it more like humidity in the atmosphere? So you have humidity in the atmosphere that, if you could see it, would look like clouds of humidity. If you could see the salt in the water, you would see that as clouds of salt. That's what happens in the real world. So when you look at the tides and you look at what's actually happening, how is it happening? Is it always the same level of salinity on its way up and on its way down? How is the salinity related to the tides? How is it relate? How does it relate to the time of day? Does it relate at all? Is it a separate beast altogether? If you don't ask these questions, then just stop talking. Don't mean like you have to ask yourself these questions or stop talking. I mean, if you're critiquing, just stop. Just quit and watch people who are actually studying the world. So now, one thing, I'm just gonna do this because I thought, yeah, this will be fun. The Book of the Sun. I'm going to go back to my little thing that I wrote. Oh no, I'll do it now. Do this now. Okay, so define your purpose. What is it that you're working for? What do you want to achieve through your work? If it's not to advance a better understanding, if it's just to critique, Now, you have to understand this. Everybody has to understand this. There were reasons the globe was developed. And if you're a religious zealot and you think, oh, it was developed to hide God, no, you're wrong. The reason it was developed was to figure out where we are and what this place is, how this place works, and how things happen. That's right. It was a scientific pursuit. The stars move across the sky. The heck is what's going on? That's why the globe was developed, believe it or not, to try to understand what this place is. They didn't have a very good understanding of magnetism, of electricity, of static charge. They didn't understand a whole bunch of stuff. So back then, they didn't have a way of figuring out what the sun was, or the stars, or movement of light. They don't understand. How can light move? Look, how could they understand it? They couldn't. So they arrived at this globe of fireball turning illumination. There. Okay. Now, with this turning and illumination, they've managed to conceptualize of this thing called time. Like in the real world, we really have time. Not really an abstract concept. It's only the Einsteinian silliness that insisted on it being an abstract concept. That way it could be linked to another abstract thing called distance or space, and forced into a mathematical formula for gravitation. Okay, now the globe was developed to try to understand the world. That's right. The world is something that's actually going on. Some understanding about the world was arrived at separate from the globe idea. That was just like an overall, like, well, we'll consider things from this globe point of view. It's like, okay, well, we'll consider things from like heat transfer point of view. Okay. But that's why the globe was developed. Now, if you're not interested in actually advancing things further than the globe could, because the globe is false, so the globe can't actually accommodate some of the things that are coming to the world, some of the effects that are going to have great impact on the world. The globe can't actually accommodate them. It can't predict them. And the whole point, believe it or not, for science is to make predictions. That's right. Isn't that curious? You never really thought of it like that, had you? Well, some of you had, but to make predictions, what do you want to make predictions for? So that's the reason for the globe. Now, if your reason for going against the globe is that you have a chip on your shoulder because you have an inferiority complex or whatever, I don't know. I suppose carry on, if you look at the discussions that have been had between people and the mainstream, okay, you have people saying, well, knowing that the earth is flat tells you that you're not insignificant. I never thought I was insignificant. And globelings look at it and go, oh, these poor saps. I'm a globling, but I don't feel insignificant. But these poor saps, for whatever trauma happened in their life, they ended up thinking that they were insignificant. And now they think the earth is flat, therefore there must be a God, the God that their church has been telling them about all their lives, and therefore they are significant. Why didn't they find significance through what their church was telling them about their God in the first place? My cousin's a globling too, and he's a religious person, and he doesn't feel insignificant through his interpretation of the God of his faith. So this whole discussion of stuff to bolster your ego or to arrive at some sense of identity and some significance, I feel sorry for those people. I do. I feel sorry for them. Now, yeah, science, an ongoing search for understanding, ongoing quest for understanding. The reason for that understanding is for predictions. Now what I'm going to do is I have the Book of the Sun. The second book, by the way, I'm writing this, my second book. It's not the second Book of the Sun, okay? I was going to, and work on that and work on the elucidation of time and what it really is and how you can demonstrate it. And it's so simple. The few people I've told about it have gone, oh my God, like how? Yes. How is it that simple and people haven't noticed, haven't realized? And it really is. In fact, it's so, it's like this. In the same way that in the world of physics and all of the sciences, there's this big elephant in the room called consciousness, okay, that all of them know is part of the whole ensemble of things to do with being a human being and this place and the interaction between things. They know that there's this big elephant in the room called consciousness that they can't really approach very much. In the same way that that's rather significant, the same fields of science have got this thing with time. And I'm telling you right now, and this is just, it's freaking brilliant. It's brilliant. If I say so myself, it's genius. That's right. Time, this elephant in the room for that world of science, which is this world of science that has a problem with the consciousness thing. This, I understand. I know what time is. I can describe it to people, and I will do. And once you describe time accurately and correctly and demonstrably, you can then go, oh, wait a second. Oh, that's consciousness. It's brilliant, guys. I'm telling you right now, it's freaking brilliant. And the reason that I say it's brilliant and it's genius is because it came to me whilst I was driving. It just came to me. I've said this a million times before. It's just come to you. An idea occurred to me. And I say it because that way you can take it with a bit less arrogance. You know, it's like, really, it's just like, how much effort did you put into figuring that out? Well, not much. It just like came and then I contemplated and went, oh, it's not much effort put into contemplation, you know, folks. Like the easiest thing in the world to do. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read just the chapter headings, and I might go into a little bit of what each chapter talks about from the Book of the Sun. That's right. You see, there are flat earthers out there who have the Book of the Sun, who talk about the things that are in the Book of the Sun, but don't say, and this comes from Antonio's Book of the Sun. And the reason they don't say it is that they're checking. Oh, I nearly swore. I managed not to swear, so I'm not going to. Is fear of falling out with other flat earthers. That means that you're a coward. Whoever you are, you're a coward. So I'm going to make you feel like a coward. And I'm going to make sure that everybody who watches this, who watches any of your hangouts, who hears you saying any of these things goes, aren't you quoting the Book of the Son? So, first, the contents, preface. Then chapter 1, the kill switch. An explanation of how to interrupt the thinking pattern about the globe and about silliness to do with things just spontaneously entering into existence. Chapter 2, concerning gyroscopes. Chapter 3, map distortions. Chapter 4, maritime law and the postal service. Chapter 5, the big race, elephant versus cheetah, about the Cutty Sark. Chapter 6, the clash of the suns, anthropomorphism and apotheosis, and the blackness of space. Chapter 7, the chaos hydra. Chapter 8, miracles and wonders. Chapter 9, written in stone. Chapter 10, head for the hills. Chapter 11, the endless cycle, the snake eating its own tail. Chapter 12, loose ends. Chapter 13, the Lords and the new creatures, which is also a Jim Morrison book, by the way. Chapter 14, the end of days, chemtrails, HAARP, and UFOs. Chapter 15, Houston, we have a problem. Chapter 14, summary and predictions. Chapter 17, map specifics. So, those of you who are reading the Book of the Son or have read the Book of the Son, and I will make it into an ebook sooner or later. I've been busy doing other things. First, when I make it into the ebook, I'll fix the typos and weirdness that happened in the print setting for this. Some weirdness happened. Strange things like sentences just ending and restarting a new paragraph without a full stop even. Just strange. Yes, so that's the Book of the Son. In the Book of the Son, I explain a whole series of things, including light. Okay, because look, when you have scientists looking at the light through the double slit experiment and ignoring the fact that it's splaying this way, not that way. Okay, so they're looking for it separating this way because light's supposed to be this longitudinal thing. But they don't notice this vertical banding because they don't know how to address it and they don't even notice it. So I highlighted in this. They can't address it. They literally cannot address it unless they change their theory into my theory, what I describe in this. Then they can address it. They can say, oh yes, look, this banding confirms what that says. Yesterday, I didn't take any images of this because I was having dinner with my children. So I have light streaming in. I've shown this in the past, light streaming in through slatted blinds, and it's diverging, okay? And Globling's like, it's one of the videos that I have where Globling's like, oh, sorry, got to go, kind of thing, right? So yesterday I have the slats and there's a tiny gap. The light was coming in through a tiny space. It's actually in the slats, there's a void where the string goes through, okay? The light was coming in just through that void, okay? Just a portion of that void coming through, and it's diverging and then causing wave interference. But see how I'm holding my fingers vertically? It's causing wave interference vertically. I'll capture it sooner or later. Now, and it's not the light interference as described by the current physics of light. It's light interference as described by my model of light. So, back to models. When globelings say, well, our model works, it doesn't. It only works in their belief system. Okay, the real world does things. The model interprets some of it in the most shoddy ways, like the tides. You know, like here's the Earth, there's the sun. The sun is pulling on the water here. That's causing acceleration towards the sun. The Earth is going slower than this water that's being pulled towards the sun. And compared to this water here on this side of the globe, well, the Earth is going, well, this is going at speed 3, and the Earth is going at speed 2, and this is going at speed 1, and between 2 and 1, there's a difference, and that's what causes this separation. See, high tide here, answered. It's nonsense. It's silliness what the globe does with things like the tides. And people like conspiracy cats, I get why they think that it's correct. It's basically like your level of intelligence starts here and it goes to here. But you're missing this portion of level of intelligence. It's the portion of intelligence that prompts questions. You're just missing that part. You're just missing it. So all of this programming and repetition is great. It's just this part you're missing. This part. It's like a subcultural level of intelligence that things like IQ don't quite test for. But hey. Now I'm going to go into the chat. I'm going to go over other things, but I've forgotten for now. So I'm going to go into the chat, see how people are doing. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to time some people out. I'm not going to say who, because that way they... sorry, my system's a little bit frozen. Yeah, there you go. Gamer Tamer, you're having a wrench, right? And the Globalers starting to admit the moon doesn't cause the tides. Well, kind of, but only some at the educational level. They're still teaching moon causes the tides. Some of the things that have gone on and the Globelings haven't really, this is what happens. Okay, when you're working in a school of thought that's wrong, when something is proposed on which your school of thought was purchased, so your school of thought says this: Earth with atmosphere, end of Earth's atmosphere, great distance to moon. Moon's orbit's got nothing to do with Earth's atmosphere or anything like that. It's all to do with Earth's mass. And then along comes somebody, like from the globe side, says, actually, Earth's atmosphere encompasses the moon now. When your globe view has been based on this separation of emptiness between Earth, edge of Earth's atmosphere, and moon, and suddenly the guys that you've been supporting tells you, no, Earth atmosphere actually encompassing the moon, then you have a problem. And what those guys do is they just don't discuss it. They go silent. The rhetorics of the world, that guy's just like history, but those guys, they just don't mention it. In the same way that flat earthers who persistently say water seeks its own level say, wait, you mean water at rest within a container, a finite small container separate from external forces, seeks its own level? Not. Water always seeks its own level. Like, well, there's water in the clouds, that level's quite a lot higher than the surface of the oceans, and that's water. It didn't get there by trying to be flat, did it? And then forget that, it rains. So it's like, oh, changing levels to horizontal. Great. Now, ocean, horizontal. Oh, wait, it's going up here and up here with tides. So when flat earthers repeat this without really stopping to think, it's just like when globelings repeat things without really stopping to think. And when you point out to globelings like, hey, you know, your theory's just been upgraded to say that now Earth's atmosphere encompasses the moon. They're like, that is the same reaction that globelings have when you say to them, you know, the water's persistently at different levels, don't you, right? It's the same, so yeah, there you go. Jason Tomlinson, you're having a wrench too. TBC says something. TBC, repeat whatever it is that you're saying. And now I'm going to wait for a few minutes. I'm going to have a cigarette. So I'm going to wait for TBC. He writes, by the way, I'm going to read. Didn't find any definition, and I couldn't get Antonio to explain it to Shane Walter. So, okay, let's see what that was. Flat Earth Data 2 says, you took away Flat Earth Data wrench. If you don't have a wrench, it's because it was taken away. Now, if it was taken away, maybe it was because you were being a bit of a cretin at some point. Think back about how you've behaved and what you've written and consider whether that might be the case. It certainly won't be for no good reason, because I don't do things like for no good reason. Paul Yates, the tides of the earth breathing. That's probably the it's anthropomorphizing the earth, but it's probably the most accurate description of what's going on. So, TBC, I'm waiting. What do you think of censorship, Antonio Subirats? Depends what kind of censorship. Sorry, I'm now looking. Wait, because the chat is scrolling. Holoprism, didn't find any definition. TBC, it's in the Book of the Sun. What do you mean you didn't find it? Masagario writes, correct me if I'm wrong, high noon sun at 12 p.m., the time is moot. Okay, but high noon sun, yes, 90 degrees perpendicular. It's a perceptual phenomenon. Always a point on Earth where the sun is 90 degrees. Is it possible to track it? Yes, it's possible to track it. And yes, it's a perceptual phenomenon. Absolutely. Yeah, totally. At the same point that it's at the same time that it's 90 degrees from the surface of the Earth, it's at all kinds of different degrees from other places on the Earth. And when you try to triangulate, you get readings from other people who know how to use the equipment to establish the correct azimuth and elevation, taking everything into consideration, like magnetic declination and atmospheric conditions. It doesn't meet at the sun. The lines don't meet at the sun because the sun isn't there. The sun isn't there. And this is a problem that QMFI just can't get through his thick skull. The sun isn't there. It's like trying to triangulate a rainbow. You can't triangulate a rainbow. It doesn't mean that there's millions and millions of rainbows or millions and millions of suns. The sun isn't there. It's a visual phenomenon. Anyway, TBC, I looked for the world to be explained. right. I looked for the world to be explained on its own, a straight definition. I know it is in the book that I have read. I don't understand. TBC, I don't understand. You're writing, I looked for the world to be explained on its own. Oh, I think you mean the word. A straight definition. I know it's in the book that I have read. It's in the book that you have read. When you say a straight definition, I think you mean in terms that you can understand, which means in terms that you're already familiar with. No. The reason I wrote what I wrote is to explain what it is. If there were already terms by which it would be familiar to people, I would have used those terms. There isn't. I'm defining the sun in a way it's never been defined before. Although there have been through history times where, I don't know, wise people from the past have described facets of it, but then it's gone by the by, you know. And I'm talking people like the guys who worshipped Mithra, unsurprisingly, the sun. So, okay, so yeah, at Orb's Realm, Wrench keeps mods from being able to time you out. Yeah, that's true. So there's some discussion going on about yes, Achilles arrow. People can't grasp the sun is not physical. Yeah, they just can't grasp it. Cormac H, censorship, Antonio. Where do I begin? Okay, I'm going to give you a wrench. I don't know if you're groveling or not, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so censorship. How does censorship happen? There's like the straightforward way of censoring, which is just like delete, remove, delete. Okay, but then there's a more subversive type of censorship, which is don't delete, just cram a bunch of stuff between the person seeking and the thing being sought. Just cram a bunch of stuff between them. That's censorship too. So what do I think of it? I think it's a desperate attempt by trying to control the information people have access to, or at least what they engage with. Even if it's not, people can say, oh, there's no information there. It doesn't matter. Stopping people engaging with a specific thing. So there's somebody who's been telling me for months now that my channel, when you look on the Sky app, I don't really know what the Sky app is, but when you look on the Sky app, through the Sky app at YouTube to look for my channel, you don't come to my channel, you come to like 12 or 14 other you have to scroll through a whole bunch before you get to my channel. And that this doesn't happen with any of the other flat earthers. You go like put any other flat earther that don't, there you go, first one, hit. Okay, but with mine, that this cramming of other stuff, and it's stuff that's going against flat earth. It's not like it's trying to divert to other flat earthers, just anti-flat earth stuff. What can I say? This is a channel that was pulled for showing stuff to do with the sun, including Tim Osman's banana sun reflection. But this channel was pulled for showing things real time about the sun, not CGI, not concepts, not theory, not mathematical equations. Real-time observations of the sun. This, not this channel, my previous channel. That's why that channel was killed. It doesn't matter to me. That's why I wrote the Book of the Sun. It's like, okay, you're going to tamper with my YouTube? That's all right. I'll write a book, so you tamper with that. And they're trying to tamper with that too, but never mind. Antonio, Era writes, Era writes, any thoughts on how we politely try and map Antarctica? I agree. If there is a new map to find, focusing on that is productive, much instead of trashing, old broken ideas. It's very difficult to map Antarctica, Era. Yes, good observation. But it's difficult to map the Earth anyway, because you're starting off from a point where you're believing the information that's given to you. But at least with all of the land north of 65 degrees south latitude, at least you can go and check that land. You can really check. You can see the crenulations around the little areas in Patagonia, those areas there and like that. The coastlines around Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil, those Uruguay and Brazil, are those coastlines generally like that? These things can actually be checked, but with Antarctica, you can't check it. All of anything that we do with Antarctica is based on faith on what we've had presented about Antarctica. For all, it could be the case, and I'm just going to propose this now, mention this now, I'm not proposing it. Just imagine that here, there was a great big opening here. Huge opening. Or there. Or there. How would we know? If there was a huge channel, and Matt Howland mentioned this some time ago, if there was a huge channel opened to another pond, how would we know? We wouldn't, because we can't go there to check. Like, we really cannot go there to check. So, yes, I understand what you're saying, Era, but it's like, how do you do it? You know? Hammond Walker, okay, Hammond Walker writes, I love telling my fellow golfers that the sun doesn't cause the light. Light causes the sun. I say it that way. Just keep it simple. Now they wake up early to see the light. Yeah. It really is that. It really is like that, you know. Okay, here's a way for people to perceive of the sun. Okay. If you were to get 360 lasers, okay, and you place them on a frame like a large hula hoop, all pointing away from the hula hoop, you wouldn't have to sit there calibrating towards exactly the center, okay, but they're all pointing away from the actual hula hoop. If you make sure, once you've set them all up, if you make sure that you angle all of them so that they don't actually, the lasers don't actually cross, they don't actually meet, okay, and you then took that hula hoop and looked like this, you'd see where they cross. See, I'm crossing like this. Where the lasers cross, there's extra brightness. And where, when you have it so that they all cross at the same point, that point would be, and this would be just a 2D representation of the sun, a very simplistic version. Now, if you take this 360 degree of lasers pointing and crossing each other, and you make it 360 like this, and then 360 for the whole 360, that would be the sun. Okay. Now, this would be a way of fashioning something with physical means to replicate a very bright light source where the brightness is not coming from that point. It would be considered a light source, but the light sources are really all of the individual lasers. Now consider that where we live, there are an endless series of intangible filaments, so thin that, well, they register The only way to register them through Kelvin meters or like light sensors. They're very, very thin and insubstantial. And those filaments all cross at one point because those filaments are charged in a methodical way by the charge that brings us the day. And where they cross at the beginning of the day, there's no overall crossing of these. There's just illumination. But as the day progresses, you get to a point where they do cross. And where they do cross, that's where you see the sunrise. The sun isn't there at the same time as you're seeing the sunrise there, just above the horizon. Farther over that way, the sun is in that direction. That's what we have. But how do you go and you determine this for sure? The only way you can only surmise that this is what we have by looking at how sun actually works. By actually looking like, let's look at sun reflections in water. See what's going on. Let's look at sun shadows. Shadows cast by the sun. I'm going to show you something. Just give me a second. And I tried doing this recently. I'm not even going to look for the video. Okay. Because I don't remember who it was. Oh yeah, I do remember. No, I'm not going to find it because I'll mess up my system. Go to P-Brain. There's a video by a guy called P-Brain where he's taken 2 pieces of cardboard, he's cut holes through one and he's drawn through the holes and then moves this piece of cardboard away, like the top piece away from the bottom. And he's got the sun going through. As you see in that, it looks like the rays are pretty parallel. Okay, this is about crepuscular rays. Actually, I tell you what, I will find it. Hopefully it won't mess up my system too much. But as you look, you see it's like, wait a second, these aren't actually parallel. I'll show you. Give me a second. And I'm going to make I'm just going to propose something with the moon because I have not been looking seriously at the moon. I'm busy looking at other things. And I think part of the reason is I think that by looking at other things, I will develop overall, looking at the other things will help place pieces of understanding that will eventually give me enough tools by which to understand the moon. But I will give it one suggestion of the moon. Okay, yeah, I have it here. Perfect. Wow, it's freeze framed just perfectly. Yeah. Now, P-Brain, because he's a freaking P-Brain, didn't actually see what he's showing. And this is what I mean about people not seeing what's right in front of their faces. And it happens. It really happens. And it's, to me, it's shocking because you always assume that other flat earthers are like you. And you come across things and go, oh, not flat like me at all. What the heck? Like some flat earthers come out with things that makes you think, oh my gosh, I never thought of it like that. They're brilliant. But you don't resent it. Like the thing to do is go, oh, brilliant, and then look for it. And then there are a whole bunch of flat earthers don't like that I didn't think of this or that I didn't notice this. So I'm going to point something out right now. Okay, so here we are. Am I sharing? Yeah, here. You see what I'm showing on the screen right now? Okay, let me grab it and move it over so I've got it in my screen. Okay. These are 2 pieces of card. Obviously, one's being held towards the sun. These holes are the size of the holes through which the light is streaming. You see how the light is illuminating a region that's larger than the hole? It means that light has diverged from the hole. And to make it even extra interesting, it has also kind of diverged. It's not really diverged. It's more like converged from the size around the rim. You see the rim of the card So light from the rim is drawing towards a point of convergence, but the light through the holes is drawing away from a point of convergence. See, this is why people don't really understand shadows very well when they look at them, and they don't understand what to look for. Because it's like, dude, you got both things going on. How do you interpret what's going on? Well, the way you interpret it is, first, you see what's really going on, and then you arrive at conclusions. You formulate ideas, or you just contemplate, and you play through like a microfiche, you know, microfilm, in libraries where you just scan through different reports. You scan through different ideas in your brain. You scan, could it be this, could it be this, could it be, you just scan through, but you're seeing it right here, right? I'm going to move back, right? Right. There. Right, wait. Okay, see, the pieces of card, and he does say, try this yourselves. Okay, the pieces of card are the same size, and he moves one away from the other, and he looks at the light that's streaming in through the holes. Okay, wait. See, you see, all of them, including the overall size of the card. Okay, so it's like the light that's going through openings splays out after the opening, and the light that's going past the borders, so the actual outside edge, is splaying to try to illuminate as much as it can of the land, which is how light works. What's actually happening is these beams of light, all of these beams of light, are transmitting information, and the outside region of continuous beams of light, or even contiguous beams of light, there's a perfect word, they're all trying to transmit the same information coherently, and it gets to the point where there's no distinction between the center and the outside. You want to know what I mean? If he was to race this in the same direction as he's racing right now, say 200 meters, you wouldn't see a tiny little shadow here off the card. You wouldn't see a shadow at all off the card. That's what would happen. And if 200 meters wouldn't do that enough, then race it 2,000 meters. Then you'll see that that's what's happened. The light is trying to retain its coherency. That's light. That's what light does. Light transmits information. That's what light is. It's an information transferring device, and that's what light does. It doesn't mean that it's the only thing that can transmit information. Sound can transmit information too, but it's through the same type of array, or the same type of field, and through the same type of mechanism. Vibrations. Light, much higher vibration. Sound, much slower vibration. Okay, so there you go. Video, because you want to watch. Crepuscular Sun Rays Proof Flat Earth Perspective by P-Brain. Okay, so there you go. And now I think I might wrap up. I'm just going to look in the chat, see what's going on, because I didn't mean this to go on very long. I don't know how long I've been on, to be honest. Cormac H writes, Flat Earth Data 2 recommended a channel called Trolls versus Trolls on his channel that was deleted. He is a liar and a fraud. Can you elucidate, please, Cormac H? Are you addressing that to Flat Earth Data 2, or are you saying that Flat Earth Data 2 recommended a channel? Please make it clearer for me. Pete Murray, Level Earth UK. How are you? But Antonio, not all people are as sharp as you. I get great ideas from someone saying something random and accidentally. Inspiration. I would love to do a video with someone was inspired somehow. I would to do a video and someone was inspired somehow. Yes. So when you say somebody says stuff and it just incidentally causes inspiration in you, that's how it goes. That's what happens with me. People say stuff all the time. But sometimes the person that's saying that stuff that turns out to be inspiring is myself. We all do it. We all inspire ourselves. Every time we think, hey, I think I should do whatever it is, that's you inspiring yourself. But yeah, it just, yeah, that's just how the world is. But when you say people aren't sharp, it's like, that's only in a narrow field. In a narrow field, yeah, I'll accept that. If you were to broaden that field, you know, then there's people who are way, 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 way sharper in all kinds of other ways. But I'm happy with that. I have no problem with that. ¿Qué tal, Antonio? Anima animus. Muy bien, gracias. Cormac, do you know about the comment censorship? Yeah, okay, sorry. Cormac H is saying... David Hinkle, 0. David, good. Cormac H, thank you. Yeah, so that's why I removed this wrench. Okay, so Dave Hinkle says, have any globalists legit challenged your map accuracy? None, 0. Not even, wait for it, Simon Dan, who apparently, I haven't seen this, but I've heard that he did a charity run, and that he either said when in the preamble to the charity run or during the charity run or after the charity run at some point that after his charity run he would tear my book apart, or he would tear into my book, or he would critique it. 0, none, no critique at all. There isn't any. Of course, you see, if the guy critiques my book, people who've read it could say, what you're saying there, oh, sorry, 1 second. Nah, somebody phoning me, don't know who it is. I'm not answering, thank you very much. Where was I? Yeah, no critique at all, Dave Hinkle, none. And I tell you what, I would critique it, and I will. One day, I'll just wait a little while, I'll write the next book, and then I'll critique this map. And I'll say, look, guys, if you wanted to critique it, you could have said this, and all of them will be legit critiques. Because there are critiques. Of course, you can critique it. You can say, Africa's not really that shape. How do you know that that's the size of, not the size, how do you know that those are the dimensions of Eurasia? The size, sure, but it could be a different, those dimensions could be displayed otherwise. I'll give you an example. You've all heard the Gold-Peters projection versus Mercator projection. Well, what if Eurasia, what if the number of latitudes between the southern tip of East Asia and the north, what if those latitudes were much narrower? But it would have to be that Eurasia would have to be the same mass, would have to be the same surface area. If that was the case, let's say instead of it being 6,000 miles, let's say it was 4, but you still have the same square miles. So how do you, well, it would make that region a larger circle or a larger crescent. That's what it would do. It doesn't mean it's going to mess everything up. In fact, it's going to bring Australia and New Zealand a little closer to South America if you do that. But I didn't, at the time that I was drawing the map, I wasn't thinking, I'm going to do that. In fact, I thought, oh, I'm just going to finish like this because I need to discuss things with a whole bunch of different people to find a way of defining what the actual distance is, north and south in Russia. So what's the actual kilometers or miles from northern Russia, from the northernmost point of Russia to the southernmost point of Russia in that same longitude? So, yeah, but no, Dave Henkel, none whatsoever. Also from flat earthers, none. West Coast Wisdom, check your emails for blinds and light photo examples. Oh, you've just reminded me of something. Right, I will do. Thanks, Jean. Do you know about the comment censorship? Cormac S. H, sorry. Do you know about the comment censorship? I don't. I myself haven't been in my own comment section for, I don't know, since last time I did a Hangout. It takes a lot of time, and half the time I think I should deactivate comments. You know, lots of people are arguing there for no good reason. Well, yeah, literally for no good reason. But no, I can tell you this. I know that there's shenanigans going on where, and I've experienced this, and I would have, believe it or not, Wolfie6020 corroborate what I'm saying, which is this. I place comments to him, they disappear. He places comments to me, they disappear. He doesn't see my comments, I don't see his comments. Other times he sees my comments and I see his comments, but sometimes not. And I have certainly showed my comments from my page, but then they disappear. And I think he might have done the same. But I think this messing with people isn't directed, isn't done by the individual in question. Like, for instance, isn't done by Wolfie or isn't done by me. So yes, where you're talking about censorship of comments, yeah, I can definitely see that happening. Absolutely. You make a comment up, disappeared, gone. A channel called Celtic67 did a video on censorship that's going on. Yes. Oh, right. Yes. So this happens. This is happening. You place a comment. Okay. It's like, there you go. Comment posted. Refresh. Comment gone. Like, that wasn't long enough for the guy whose channel you place a comment on to go into his comments, see your comment, delete his comment. That's too fast. So yes, definitely. Definitely, guys. Censorship. They have to engage with censorship. Now, I was going to go to something prompted by West Coast Wisdom. Give me a second. And this is just, it's just brilliant. Oh, sorry, didn't realize I was screen sharing. Stop screen sharing. I really didn't know I was screen sharing, sorry. Right, so Jeez. For God's sake. Do you know how many times I get told that I have to upgrade my password in my own email account? It's ridiculous. Right, so I'm checking my email. I'm going to have a look to what... just give me a second. Yes, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Okay, so right, I'm going to show, dude, that was so apropos. Thanks for that. Right, screen share. I want to make sure I'm not showing anything I shouldn't be showing. Right. That is so cool. I wouldn't. Did you just do that now, or did you? Were those photos you'd taken at another point? Because here it's miserable, no sun. But if you did that like on the spot, that's so cool. And if you didn't, it's like, oh, that was apt. Right, wait. I'm trying to screen share, and I'm having a problem. Right there. Right. Share. So here you are. Okay. Go here. You see, right. You see these little dashes here? These are the little dashes from the gap through the blinds, not the, so you've got the gap between the slats. That's not the gap we're talking about. We're talking about a small hole that's in each individual blind through which the cords run. That's what these are. Okay, now I had these yesterday progressing on my wall, diverging to the point that they were actually causing interference. Okay, now that was vertical interference. If these continued long enough, I would suggest, I suppose, that there might be a horizontal interference. But yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Now I'm going to stop screen sharing so that I don't dox anyone. Brilliant. Now, I was going to go into my email, which I'm now in, and I'm going to find something that was passed to me by just, do you know what? One of the cool things about being a YouTube content provider, two cool things. One, loads of people really like you. Like, it's really cool when lots of people say, dude, you're the man. It's great. It's good. Okay. When lots of girls put little love hearts, like, yeah. But so that's kind of cool. But what's really, really cool, I mean, and that's kind of superficially cool. Okay. What's really cool is where people actually take the time to do something that they can share with you. And that's what happened. Somebody, a woman, passed me a video some time ago, so I'm going to try and find it here. If not, I'll find it somewhere else because I saved it somewhere. Just think this way would be faster. Of sunbeams. You see, when we look at the sun on camera, we're looking at it as it's been processed through, well, the camera. And just 1 second. And when you're looking at the sun and you see the sun beams through the camera, it's really easy to just dismiss it as lens flare. You know, it's like, oh, it's just lens flare. You know, the surfaces, the various surfaces of the lenses. So you've got the outside lens, the outside surface, and the inner surface. And it can cause light to manifest in a way that doesn't manifest in the real world. When you're looking at the sun, you don't have a big flare going on. Okay, that's the camera. And when we see light beams, it's easy to assume that it's the same kind of camera artifact. So this lens flare is called an artifact, okay? Even though it's a completely inappropriate use of the word artifact, but never mind. So, right, I'm looking for this message whilst I talk, and I'm not very good at doing both, like breathing and talking at the same time. So when you see a light beam, it's easy to assume that it's an artifact. We're not talking crepuscular rays, which you see with your own eyes. That's not a camera artifact. We're talking light beams. So when you look at the sun, you see these beams coming out from the sun. When you're looking on a camera, on a screen, well, there are times when these beams can be isolated and demonstrated to not be lens flare or lens artifact. Now, as I keep looking, and I'm going to keep scrolling, I'm just going to say this as if absent-mindedly, or off the cuff, but it isn't off the cuff. I think the moon might be equivalent to lens flare, where the atmosphere is the lens. That's right, folks. You heard it here first. Or at least I haven't heard it elsewhere, and I'm repeating it. I thought this, and then I thought, right, so. But like one of the people in the chat was saying, sometimes people make comments or something, and it triggers a sequence of thoughts. And this is a thought that was triggered by someone. Somebody made a comment about the moon and what the moon could be, and it just made me think, boom, it just immediately made me think, wait, lens flare, because I've been looking at lots of footage of the sun. Right, sorry. I'm still scrolling. There you go. I have it. Brilliant. I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, I'm not going to say your surname because in case you get hassle for it. But Rachel, thank you very much. Right. I'm going to show it just a second. I'm not going to read the email, but I'm tempted to read the email. There's nothing like wrong with that, but I don't have the okay, so I don't know if that might be considered a betrayal, so I'm not going to risk it. But I'm going to show this video. Just give me a second while I load it, and you'll see how this thing that could be interpreted as camera artifact is not a camera artifact. Like, absolutely, undeniably not an artifact. I'm just waiting for it to load. Give me a second. Right. Yeah, this is really so good. Right, I'm going to turn the volume down. Oh, this is just so good. Right. And really, so Rachel, thank you so much. This is just, thank you. Right, give me a sec. Oh, wait. Right. And by the way, this that I'm about to show is the kind of thing, the kind of reason why my previous channel was pulled. For showing stuff that's just, it's not debatable, it's not arguable. You can't say it's something else. So I'm going to go over this again. I showed the sun from Murmansk way beyond north, still going down in the sky. Way beyond north. That's like true north, okay? Like across the North Pole, Earth's axis, way beyond it, still going south. It's not supposed to happen on the globe. It's like, yeah, no, the reason it's happening is it is leaning towards the thermal anomaly. That's the region, that's pulling it down. Anyway, so I'm going to show this now, share. And you see exactly what I mean about camera lens flare and artifacts and whatnot. So let me make sure. Yes, I am. You see, there's the sun, and here you have these two beams. Okay, we've seen this kind of thing lots of times, I'm sure. Okay, sometimes you zoom in on the sun, and you got these two, and you got others that kind of, they have a certain distance from the sun, and then they kind of diffuse and right. So these beams are what I'm referring to. Okay, now just so you understand, what we're actually looking at here is a slice. Think of these beams as being really a coin looked at edgewise, okay? Or a fan looked at edgewise, or a piece of paper looked at edgewise. It doesn't matter, okay? This shape is not a completely straight line. It's actually arced, okay? It's arced. And when this reflects in the water, that arcing continues on the water. But never mind that right now. See these that you could consider to be, well, what's happening is the branches of the tree are causing that. No, don't be stupid. You see these when there's no trees there too, okay? There's not branch of the tree causing this at all, okay? This is just specific conditions where this can be observed. And the person who took this was just very lucky. And I think just, some people just have, some people believe in guardian angels and it's like a biblical belief, but I have a different belief. Some people are more prescient, and some people have better guardian angels. Guardian angels that come along and push you in a certain direction for a little bit of information, that kind of stuff. That's what I believe anyway, and I don't usually believe stuff. Right, so watch these beams, okay? And you might think, this is just, well, camera artifact, okay? Right, so let's look to see if it's camera artifact or if those beams are actually really there in the real world. Oh, looks like the sun is no longer in the shot. Can't be, well, lens flare from the sun, see? And as you see, wait, pause. Oops. Right, let me play it again. Right. Right towards the end, where she zooms out, you can see the arcing to these. So I'm going to try and hover over the... And her phone was about to die as well. Just such a shame. There. Can you see the arcing? I'm exaggerating it to indicate the arc. Can you see how there's arcing? Now, people might say, oh, the arcing is caused by the lens. It's like, no, it isn't. That's not how lenses work. No, it would have to be, well, a concave lens to arc like that. And it isn't. So, yeah, there you go. Now, let me stop screen sharing so I don't dox you. Stop. Now, some of you might be thinking, don't really understand the significance of that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So if you're ever watching something and you don't understand the significance of it, don't let it bother you, okay? But don't assume that because you don't find significance, there isn't any there. There will be other people that are understanding the significance. And when I say understanding, I mean comprehending, not using the word understanding in that legalese way of using words, okay? And I'm going to say this for those people who are trapped in the legalese world, okay? When the word of legalese say, when we say human, we mean monster, okay? That's okay. You can mean whatever you want. When we say human, we mean human being, person, not animal, human being. That's what we're saying. Okay, so don't let that world of legalese really get to you. Celtic 67, why on a backup channel? I thought you'd have a wrench. Maybe you're having a wrench. Maybe your other channels like controlled or whatever. So Yeah, the world of legalese, that whole world of well, language means things that you don't know that other people are using with different meanings. I don't care what meanings they're using it with, like, really. And if you do care, it's a rabbit hole. It doesn't get you anywhere. Like, it's a distraction, and it's done on purpose. It's done to disguise moves that those guys make, and it's made as a distraction for you. I describe it in the book of a song, by the way, just briefly, in maritime law and the postal service, because those are the guys that made it also. Yeah. So yeah, don't let it bug you. I'm now looking through the chat. Dan W mentions that there's a flat earth half-wit trapped in the legal world. That guy is just such a moron. Oops. Well, no, that's not really a swear word. That's an actual psychological classification. Moron. That's right. If you have a moron who says, look, I don't know all this talk about Foucault and the gyroscope. There's no mention of Foucault and the gyroscope on the Wikipedia page on Foucault. But he's looking at the Wikipedia page of Michel Foucault, the postmodernist philosopher, and not Leon Foucault, the 18th century physicist. It's just like, okay. I don't know why people, never mind. Fractal Escape. Antonio has only 1.8 subs because the same people that control what you think are trying to steer belief away from actual thinking. Fractal Escape. Yes. Yeah, totally. Okay. What's happening? But they can't really force people to watch. Okay. They can try and put people off watching stuff that actually helps them think, but they can't force them to watch stuff they don't want to. And that's what's happening with some of the channels. And I'm not going to say names because they're just like, blah, why? Actually, I will. I'll say names, like Nathan Oakley's channel, Patricia Steers channel, Mark Sargent's channel, David Rice channel. Those channels, like, number of people paying attention, like, because they've seen, it's like, actually, all that's going on here is talk. That's all it is. And never anything actual new that you can look at and go, okay, I'm going to consider this. Or even, well, what's being said is about this thing, but for some reason it's causing me to think this realm of thoughts that I'm going to now venture into. There's none of that going on with any of those. And it's, if you don't understand, if we don't understand this, the concept that in order to control a movement, you must lead it, okay, that's not just a blah concept. That's not just a nonsense term. That's not a spell to put people off. That's basically to explain this is how we can do things. Now, saying that might put people off pursuing anything because they think, oh, well, you don't know who's controlled and who isn't. But that is how things run. Things are controlled. So who controls the, what was that Wall Street thing, that anti-Wall Street thing that went on a number of years ago? The 1%, no, the 99% thing. That's what happens. You have people that infiltrate and push to the front. And then you have other people saying, hey, that guy's been infiltrated. He's an infiltrator and he's been pushed to the front. But it's like, no fanfare for you. Let's all focus on this guy. Let's support this guy. And when you have all of this dancing around that one guy or that one woman, whatever it is, when you see that, it's like, now I can see, okay, now I'm going to look to see what else is going on. So if you think of the early 19th century, you had, look at Edison. Look at all this Edison stuff. And in the meantime, the Russian guys, and there's like Tesla, and there's other guys going, no, it's nonsense. Look at what we can do. Okay. But very few people, especially back then, aware of these tactics. So everybody's looking at Edison saying, oh, brilliant. And then everybody looking at, oh, I tell you what, I'm going to do this now. And I don't think I'll get a copyright strike, but if I do, it doesn't matter. I haven't had any copyright strikes yet. Occupy Wall Street. Thanks, Rune Thorson. Yes, Occupy Wall Street was that movement that was just totally hijacked. It happens all the time. Oops. Okay, what the heck is this? Oh, never mind. For some reason, YouTube telling me, hey, you're viewing YouTube in English. Like, yeah, so? Anyway, right. Let me find this. Right. And I'm going to play it with volume. This is kind of sad. Okay. But, and I am going to say the word, and I mean the word. Okay. Einstein was retarded. It happens in the world. There are people who are retarded. Now, and Einstein was one of those people. And I'm going to show you right now. And I'm going to play it with audio. Okay. This is Einstein talking. Okay. I hope the volume's okay. The volume's really quiet. Well, this is what it's called. Albert Einstein talking. Okay, but I'm going to see how well it plays.
It's an act of humanity. It's the maintaining of cultural values, and not least with a measure of considerable political importance. The effect upon all nations, and not least upon Germans, of the fate of these innocent people, so maliciously persecuted, must not be underestimated. To leave these victims to their misery would be a heavy blow to all those who believe in human solidarity and would encourage those who believe only in force and oppression and who act accordingly.
Now, I would wager that the piece of paper he was reading from had a mark at certain places that said, look up. That meant look up. They probably said to him, look, this is what you're going to see, this big black arrow pointing up. This means flash your eyes up briefly. Okay, make sure you do that. Like, really, because remember, that guy was supposed to have been a professor at either Harvard or Yale or both. Okay, I don't think so. So we're going to look for another one.
Is there any way out?
Right. Now these, and I'm sorry the volume's so quiet. What can I do? Nothing I can do. These are Albert Einstein. So considering we had cameras, lots and lots of cameras, where are all of the hundreds and hundreds of interviews and discussions and lectures? There aren't any. Why? Because this was a sham. The same with Stephen Hawking. Now, the original Stephen Hawking was not retarded. He became an invalid, died, and was then replaced. But he was not retarded. Okay. But Einstein was. Einstein started off retarded. Einstein didn't have a degree, folks. He didn't have a degree in physics. Didn't have any degree. Now, this doesn't mean that because you don't have a degree, you're retarded. It means that the idea that Einstein has been put forward, there's a professor, which is how he was pushed forward. You can't be a professor unless you actually have an MPhil or a PhD in the world of academia. You just can't. It's like they have certain steps and they have to adhere to those steps. Otherwise, those steps are meaningless. And the world of academia doesn't want people to think that it's all meaningless, which it kind of is. Okay, so we're going to listen to Einstein reading some more and then being asked things. It's very short, and I'm showing this for educational purposes.
Of this impulse created by man himself, all of us, and particularly those who are responsible for the attitude of the US and the USSR, should realize that we may have vanquished an external enemy, but have been incapable of getting rid of the mentality created by war. It is impossible to achieve peace as long as every single action is taken with a possible future conflict in view.
This is the formula which...
There you go. You saw him read something, not look up once. All you've seen now are 2 clips of Einstein reading poorly short passages. That's all. There's no big, complicated, no simplified explanation of anything complicated or anything like that. It's just read this statement. And in this last section, all that he did was read the statement without even the looking up part. So I'm going to scroll forward to some more. And this, by the way, is a gibberish. And I'm going to dispel this with my expose of time. This E equals mc squared is a gibberish. Okay, it says this, in case you didn't know, mass traveling at the velocity of light equals E. Or even, if you want to think of it this way, mass times the velocity of light squared equals energy. So mass times, well, you think that this times and this figure for speed, although it's just really a figure that means very big but complete number, as in it's not an infinite number, it's a what's the word? It's just a very large constant, okay? C. A very large constant. Isn't it not constant when it goes around a black hole or around the sun or something? Well, yeah, no, it's not constant then, is it? Well, never mind that. So this c squared, okay, mass times c squared, you can think of mass traveling at c squared, although that's a nonsense, but let's play along with it. Mass traveling very fast equals energy. Okay. This is a silliness. It doesn't say equals force, it just means equals energy. Oh, really? So if I take a pebble and I placed it in a catapult that fired things at the speed of light. Now, you see this squared? That's the same squared as you have with gravity and 32 feet per second. Okay? Nice squared. Now, it's a gibberish. It is a gibberish, but never mind that. Let's say we can take a thing and shoot it with a catapult at the speed of light. Will its mass grow? No. Will its energy? No. So what does this mean? It means it's a bunch of gibberish, because apparently when things travel faster and faster and approach the speed of light, they get also bigger and bigger. I'm not joking. It really is that retarded. And I say retarded, meaning retarded. And my equation for what time really is dissolves this entirely and replaces this with truth. Anyway.
The key to the atom's secrets was first given to the world in 1905, when the genius Albert Einstein defined the relation between all matter and energy and evolved his revolutionary theory of special relativity.
Oh, that's a horrible sound.
Their successful progress, Szilard discussed with Dr. Einstein in the summer of 1939 the results of their findings and stressed the urgent need for action by the U.S. government. Conscious of the disaster which would inevitably follow if Nazi Germany should be the first to succeed in releasing atomic energy, Dr. Einstein decided to write a personal letter to the president.
Oh. Mute.
Funds with which to educate the public.
In this fateful moment, as sign that we scientists do not stand.
Right, so there's Einstein with somebody else reading what he's written. Oh, I've forgotten about this one. He's not even reading it. Like, just write this. Yes. Can I read it for you? Oh, all right.
To harness atom. We ask your help in this fateful.
I mean, this is just so ridiculous. That's never mind. I'm not even showing anymore. But if you want to see it, it's called Albert Einstein stock footage / archival footage. There you go. Now stop screen sharing. When I say that Einstein was retarded, okay, I mean it. I'm not being flippant, and I'm not using the word retarded as an insult. I'm using it descriptively. He was retarded. Einstein was retarded. Think of it calmly. Or anybody who might be disagreeing right now. To work as a patent clerk means that what you're doing is you have been deemed good enough to follow number sequences or letter sequences, or both. A143 versus A147, which comes first? That kind of thing. Very menial. Like, that's like very low level of intelligence needed for that. Okay. That was his job. If everyone had to have a job, that was his job before actually like leaving and then suddenly being a genius. By the way, there was somebody else who patented the E = MC² first, coincidentally at the same office. But it's like, oh no, that kind of went away. That person's complaints, that just gone. It doesn't matter. No, I don't believe you. It was Einstein. It's just a nonsense. And then, of course, you have the Catholic Church, because we started this off with the Catholic Church being apologized for, or engaged with apologetics, as in not like we're sorry about stuff, okay, but here's how we explain things. That's the apologetics of that's the clerical term of the word apologetics. Means describing, elucidating the Catholic faith. So we have Robertson Jennings, a Catholic apologist, and then we end up with Albert Einstein, who was taken under the wing of the Catholics with Van Maitre, or whatever he was called. Okay, so a retarded guy. Now, if he wasn't retarded, then you would have seen him actually talking and not being retarded. Signs of him not being retarded. All that we've had is signs of him being retarded, reading and not very well. As an adult, not as a young child. As an adult, reading and not very well. For a professor who gives lectures, nah, no. And then if you look at the actual meaning of E = MC², you realize, like, wait a second, isn't this saying energy equals mass times cloud? Or mass times unicorn, mass times seahorse? Tap dancing seahorse. Wait a minute, seahorses can't tap dance, they ain't got no feet. Never mind that. It's tap dancing seahorse squared. It's a gibberish, guys. It's a nonsense. But I am about to, well, oh yeah, I mentioned this and then I got sidetracked. First, I am going to write a paper, a proper paper and what time actually is. And it quashes E equals MC squared, replaces it with something true and accurate and correct. And that the military will go, oh, yeah, actually, yes. Yes, forget that, this. That's the military. And then the world of medicine will go, oh, interesting. This has got healing implications. Well, we've already got all the data. Why has nobody interpreted the data through this? We already have all the data that confirms this. Why has nobody come out with this first? Why has it got to be this flat earther? This is giving kind of flat earth legitimacy, for goodness sakes. Yes, sir. But first, I'm writing my next book. And I said this earlier, and then I got sidetracked. The next book I'm writing is not the second book of the Sun. It's the fiction. I decided, after taking advice from, well, taking suggestions from everyone urging me to write the second book of the Sun, first, I want more time to consolidate what I'm going to say. But second, there's something better to get out there, more effective, like just more effective, which will not sell as a flat earth book. It will just sell as a fiction. And I'm telling you right now, even though I am blowing my own trumpet, it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. And it's just brilliant. I don't know how it happens. Honestly, it's just like, oh my God, what a brilliant story. So that's what I'm actually doing. I've actually started already. So, right, now I'm going in the chat and then I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. I'm looking at the chat. Let's see. I'm looking through the chat. Indio 007. You're having a wrench for that comment. He writes, there are no geniuses at Harvard. It's right down the street. If there were any, I would know. Yeah, I don't doubt it, mate. Right. And like I said, after these, later on, I reviewed the comments and I give out wrenches. Right now, I'm monitoring for any Globalings who are trying to make a comment that haven't heard already, that the only way to actually get a comment through on this channel is to do it through a donation, through Super Chat. If it's a genuine comment and you're not just propagandizing, then you'll make it. It's a lot. I don't know what, I haven't set any limits. I don't really know how it works, to be honest. But yeah, let's see if you can be bothered. Let's see how confident you are, or how worthy of my time your comment is. Just scrolling through. Interesting. So I see a comment, right? Robbie Roblox wrote, "Thank you, Antonio, for taking on this obvious fraud, Einstein, and making it so childishly simple to understand that there is zero doubt about this silly fraud pusher on the masses as the ultimate genius." Now that comment was blocked by who was it? I'll see who it was blocked by. So it was blocked by somebody who had a wrench. So the person who had that comment blocked now gets a wrench, which is Robbie Roblox. And I think it was Joe Budd that blocked it. Can somebody confirm for me who it was that blocked that comment, please? Yeah, Joe Budd. Okay, so Joe Budd, you don't have a wrench anymore. Because, like I said, I do give wrenches out to people, and only later do I find out, oh, that person's a bit of an idiot. So, and then I remove the, wait, and then I just remove the wrench. It's no big deal. It's a good way of seeing that person's intent and stupidity. But there you go. So, Joe Bud, bye. You're now banned from this channel and from making comments. Sorry, mate. You shouldn't have been rude to people. La Maitra. Damn it. Thanks, Elliot Hall. Not Van Maitra. La Maitra. La Maitre. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Joe Bud, dude, busted. But never mind. So actually, hey, you know, if it wasn't for Joe Bud, I wouldn't have realized that there was this other guy there. There's a legit guy. So thank you. Okay, now, Luis Plamallorca. Espero con ansia el libro que ya reservé. Muy bien. Muchas gracias por haber reservado el libro. Yo espero con ansias leerlo también, porque lo que he leído de él, de lo que está traduciendo Ricky, está fantástico. Sí. Okay, so, yeah. Anti-Meg, yeah. Well, no, I can't now. Anti-Meg says, maybe you could ask Joe Bud for a super chat. I didn't realize that he was such a silly person, but I've banned him now. So, I don't know, maybe if he wants to come back on a different channel, he can then say something through super chat, but what a silly person. Helen Degenerates. Greetings. You're having a wrench. I've seen you for a while. At least not seen you since I started giving out wrenches freely, willy-nilly, as you see. Flat Earth Subgenius. Yo. Good to see you here, mate. But I am about to close down. Hey. Helen Degenerates. Why is it not giving me an option of giving you a wrench? Maybe it was how I had my screen. Just a second. Yeah, there you go. Okay, you have a wrench. Just because you have a wrench, you're not obliged to use it, okay? There are people out there who like using wrenches, and when they see somebody stupid, they just go, okay, quiet, sit down, just be quiet for a minute. But just because you have a wrench, you're not obliged to use it, okay? That's not what I'm doing. Yeah. Thanks. Helen Degenerates. It's nice to see you, Antonio. Thank you. Right, guys, that's it. I'm quitting. I'm tired. But yes, watch this space. I don't know how many hangouts I'm going to be doing or how regularly or anything like that. But yeah, just okay. I'm going to go because my phone's ringing. Okay, bye everyone.